Hi there. This is Timothy Chemo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I bring my 20 plus years of arts and education experience to you to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Today, through the live stream, I'm going to be talking about podcasting. Now, some of you may be going, Tim, podcasting, art, what's the deal here? What are you talking about? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Podcasting has been for me a way to express myself, express my views, and really energize my creative practice. So I want to hit some really good points, some really obvious points on artistry and podcasting, to help kind of as they like to say, the how we make this sausage, shall we say, all the stuff behind podcasting that we do and the artistry that's involved with it, as well as how you can support your favorite podcasts, and kind of give you a history about my journey through this wonderful thing we call podcasting. So, in my first podcast, first things first, when you're looking at when you're looking for a podcast, and let's say nobody has recommended something to you, what you do is you're looking at the show art, and that's the first thing that catches a lot of people's eye is the show art. Now, my first show, my logo was a big old black microphone with KDOI in some really interesting Western script. It looked like not Bonanza, but the Wild Wild West show, and it was fine for what it was. But it's in the podcasting world. If you have the microphone as your logo, it's kind of you're a noob, and people know it's a podcast, and it was all right. But I attended a Mid-Atlantic podcasting conference. It's called MapCon, or it used to be called MapCon. It's now Independent Podcasters Conference, and it's run by my good friend Super Joe Pardo. Thank you, Super Joe. That'll be $100. Anyhow, while in the middle of that conference was going on, there was a lot of great information being shot at me. I decided to redo my logo, and I used Canva to do it. And what I did is I made a bunch of squares, but rotated them one on top of the other, and a really kind of explosive background. And I had the words KDOI podcasting right there, dead center, in a kind of a yellow kind of font there, to really make the words stand out. But you're competing with a million other podcasts, 2 million now if you started a podcast now. So you're wanting to grab people's attention really quickly. If they haven't been referred to your show by somebody else, you got to grab their attention really quickly. You got to stand out of the crowd. So I redesigned the logo, and it actually did a lot better with the new logo. Then I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to change the name of the show. And that's another aspect of artistry behind podcasting is, what are you going to call your show? What's going to really attract people to it? If you say the name of your show, what's a good way for people to know what it's about, and all that good stuff. So I changed it to Create Art Podcast, because the show is all about helping you create art, helping you express yourself through art. So I'm going to give myself a thumbs up and some love. So that's why I changed the name to the show. Plus, I was on Dave Jackson's podcast radio show, and he was like, "What the heck is KDOI?" And it like sounds like a radio station, or something, BDSM, Chemo's Den of Iniquity, which I still think is a good title for a show. But people didn't know what it was about. I was like, well, we're about creating art. Oh, hey, stupid me, why don't I just call it Create Art Podcast? and then be done with it. So that's what I did. So that's another thing that you have to think about is you have to think about what's going to grab people's attention, what rolls easily off the tongue. Some other things that you need to think about: marketing. Okay, that's basically what I'm talking about here. Yeah, pure and simple marketing. Now, when you're an artist, that and you're expressing yourself, fantastic, but if nobody else sees it, it's like, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's around, doesn't make a sound. If nobody is enjoying your art or anything like that, then or if nobody's recognizing your art, then, I mean, yes, in my professional opinion, you are an artist, but there's some satisfaction that is inherent in sharing that with other folks and having other people appreciate what you're doing. So there's a lot of marketing that needs to go in there. You need to think about, are you going to do show notes? What kind of show you're going to do? It's going to be an interview show. Is it going to be a single person show? Is it going to be a call-in show? And what are you going to do? That takes some creativity for yourself, which I think is vital to have a good podcast. Is you want something that makes you think, makes you grown, makes you educated, makes you entertained. One of those. I'm stealing that from Dave Jackson, but that's the big thing there, folks, is that the marketing, how you're going to get other people to go ahead and listen, take a chance on your show and listen to it. The description of your show, create our podcast, create more than you consume, tame your inner critic. That's real easy for people to understand. It's I'm not beating people over the head, but it's real easy for folks to understand. Hey, this is what the show is about. This is what you're going to get. You know what you're going to get when you hear Create Art Podcast. You're like, oh, it's a show about art. It's about show about creating art. And in my description, I go a little bit deeper into that. I tell who I am and what we do, and I do it. I help people create art through interviews, through conversations, through commentary, through projects. Tells you everything you need to know right there, and it's fairly simple. That pretty much anyone can grasp those concepts. So I'm not necessarily saying you got to go super simplistic. I'm just saying I went super simplistic on it. Stripped down, bare bones. This is what we're about. So that is, kind of the pre-work that's got to go into it. And then, how many, are you going to do a daily show, a weekly show, a monthly show, a bi-monthly show, a bi-weekly show, quarterly show, a yearly show? What are you going to do? Are you going to do an hourly show? My God, if you're doing an hourly show, you really, bless you, my sons and daughters, you're going to need a lot of help with that. So these are, just some of the things that you need to think about before you even, talking to one of these bad boys, into a microphone. You got to think about all that kind of stuff. Next thing that's up is, recording. If you're doing a live show, then you want to make sure that you don't have technical issues like I had for the first 10 minutes of this show tonight. But you want to make sure that you minimize all those kind of issues. But you want to think about your audio production. That is an art form to itself. If you have a good ear for audio, you're going to do wonderful. If you don't have an ear for audio, then you probably want to hire somebody to do, the editing and all the mixing and all that kind of stuff for you. So that's another aspect. That's another artistic aspect in podcasting that some people think about. Some people go, that's not artistic. That's scientific. Scientific, really? Well, how come different microphones sound better with certain voices than others? It's a matter of opinion, really, for that. I think, I have a RE320 here that I think sounds fantastic. It's much better than my laptop microphone, which is not fantastic. But that's how I used to do podcasting because that's what I had, that's what I knew. With this, I think it sounds a lot better. Plus, when I'm doing the actual podcast, I'm doing some editing. I'm doing some mixing with it. I'm taking out some breaths. I am pumping the bass a little bit more, taking off a little bit on the highs, doing some compression, a bunch of things behind the scenes to make it sound even better in my ears. Now, am I a professional audio guy? No, I'm not. And that's okay. I'm good with that. I am good with that. But I do pretty well for myself, I think, anyways. So we got through audio. Then you got to think, am I going to have show notes? Am I not going to have show notes? Doing tags for it. And these are all things that, tie in the whole marketing thing. What's going to grab people's attention? So there's a lot that goes behind your favorite podcasts. And these are just, some really general kind of things that you can, deep dive into and really zone out, or not zone out. I'm zoning out. You can really zoom into, unpack, and really go down that rabbit hole if you want to. I don't recommend it, but I also don't recommend. Oh yeah, it's good enough for government work. No, it really. You want to take pride in whatever you're going out there and producing. Myself, I'm still kicking myself for the first 10 minutes of tonight's, live stream because I'm like, I don't like to be unprepared like that. I don't like to have technical issues. I like to have things, go nice and smoothly. Who doesn't? I mean, but hey, you know what? I've got experience in live theater, so I can entertain folks while I'm fixing everything, very quickly, or as quickly as I can, while you're looking at me on a camera. Good deal. Anyhow, so like I said, these are things that go on for podcasts. These are a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes before you even listen to the first sound coming out of your favorite podcast. And that can be, kind of a lonely life, being a podcaster. But it's a rewarding thing because you get your ideas, you get your thoughts, you get your viewpoint out there into the world, into the wonderful internet where it will live forever and haunt you in case you ever want to be president of the United States. People will bring this up and go, see, you said that, you did this. And then you can't be president of the United States. Although it has worked for some people. I mean, some people have said some pretty outrageous things and still became president of the United States. Sometimes they became president twice, but we won't go into that. Anyhow, how can you support your favorite podcasts? Well, I'm going to challenge everyone out here that's watching this on Instagram and Facebook. And when I go ahead and edit this down and shoot it on over to my good old YouTube channel, Create Art Podcast on YouTube. How can you support them? Well, some people like to give money, and that's fantastic. If you want to give me money, my bank account number is blah, 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 blah. Some people, hey, yeah, tossing them money. But I would say, you know what? Shoot an email. Shoot an email to your favorite podcast. You can shoot me an email, timothy@createartpodcast.com or createartpodcast at gmail.com. Either one's going to work just fine for you. I answer both of those. But just, letting the host know that you support them. With a simple thing like an email. Come on. It takes you 5 minutes to knock out an email. A well thought out, well crafted email. Now, maybe not even that. It takes me 5 minutes. I'm slow. What can I say? But just shooting that out to the host, shooting that out to the podcast is a wonderful thing. Another thing you can do, share it with a friend. If you like it so much, don't keep it for yourself. Go ahead and share it with somebody else. Why not? With everything that we've gone through in the past 18 months, I've seen a lot of people do some wonderful things with everything going on, giving of themselves, giving of their time, volunteering their time, and being really generous with other people. I've worked with a lot of other podcasters that, generously gave of their time to give me information, give me advice, give me a space on their platform to let others know about my podcast and what I'm doing. And I've given them space on my platform to do the same thing. My spirit animal, Kyle Bondo, and he's over at GagglePod. He's the one that really got me back into serious podcasting, and he's the one that took me to my first podcasting conference, DC Podfest, up in Washington D.C. of all places. GagglePod, GagglePod.com. GagglePod, where we help creatives tell their stories through the power of podcasting. So I needed, to have somebody, kind of mentor me and show me the ropes. And sometimes I'm the grasshopper that's become the master. Sometimes I'm still the grasshopper, and all that is good. That's good for me. But I think, that's an easy way to show support for your podcaster. And another thing you can do is, on social media, like what they do. There's a like button there. Go ahead and smash that like button by all means. Go ahead and write a review in Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app that you're looking at. Or if the podcast has a website and a blog, make comments on that. And I see a lot of podcasts, and they have their their blog post for each episode, and there's no comments on it. There's no feedback for it. Give these podcast hosts some feedback. I challenge you to do that. I challenge myself to do that. And am I perfect at it? Nope, not by a long shot. And I need to get better at it. And for me to get better at it, I'm going to challenge you to get better at it, which will challenge me to get better at it. So simple things that you can do. Obviously, give your podcast host money. If they've got a Patreon, go ahead and smash that Patreon button. If they got to buy me a coffee, go ahead and do that. But that interaction between you as a listener and me as a podcast host is valuable. It is valuable because we want to, provide you with entertainment, with content, with whatever we're trying to provide you with. We want to know that we're actually reaching out to somebody and talking to somebody. Otherwise, it's just crickets in your man cave or your bunker or your mom's basement. This is not my mom's basement. This is my man cave here. I promise. But it just showing folks, just showing those podcast hosts how much you appreciate what they're doing, and giving them, hey, sometimes you're like, I didn't really like what you did there. Let the podcast host know. A lot of them are very open to that kind of constructive criticism. Don't go on there and go, hey, you suck. You suck the sweat off a dead man's balls. No, don't do that to them. You can do that to me. I don't care. I'll cuss right back at you, and we'll have a good time. But give them some constructive criticism. Help make their show better. If they have merch, go ahead and buy some merch. Be free advertisement for them. And grab a T-shirt. What the heck? T-shirts $15 plus shipping. What's that? A couple of trips to Starbucks. Go ahead and buy a T-shirt. Go ahead and buy a little hat or a little keychain or something like that, to show your support for that podcast host. Because a lot of times they're popping out there and they're churning out episodes, and after a while, if you don't hear anything back, you're like, why am I doing this? I'm just sitting here talking to a microphone. Nobody's responding with anything. So that is what I would recommend there for you. Now, podcasting as an art form, We've talked about the artistic aspects of podcasting. We've talked about how you can support, an artist that's doing podcasting. My history with podcasting. So I started off a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Oh, well, no, that's Star Wars. I apologize. No, that's Star Trek. Okay, people are going to be upset with me now. No, I started a long time ago. I listened to a podcast that was a kind of a call-in podcast on Blog Talk Radio, where people would call in and read their poetry, and you kind of it's a bunch of poets called in, read our poetry, everyone politely clapped, and it was a way for us to share our work with other folks around the world, around the country. And I listened to that and I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I went on Blog Talk Radio and tried to do it myself, and didn't do too well at it. I wasn't that serious about it. I wasn't serious enough about it like I am now, like I'm serious about podcasting now. And I did that for a couple of years, went away, came back, went away, came back. And then, like I said, I ran into Kyle Bondo, 5 years ago, something like that. And he really showed me the ropes on how to do it seriously, how to really be committed to it. And it's weird because I'm an artist person. I love art. I try to promote art as much as I can. I'm serious about my paintings. I'm serious about my writings, but I wasn't being serious about podcasting. I didn't view it as art. When I viewed it as serious as I view art, then that's when things took off. That's when things got a lot better for me, for the show. And I was always finding ways to improve the content, to improve my equipment, to improve the title of the show, the name of the show, the logo for the show, the website for the show. So I say all that to say this, podcasting is a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun. It can be lucrative. I haven't seen too much money from it myself, but that's okay. Not complaining. But it is a form of art, and it is a way to express yourself. And if you're interested in learning more about podcasting, I would highly recommend going to gagglepod.com. For those of you watching me on the good old Facebook, you're going to see that go right across your screen. If you're watching me on the Instagrams, you're not going to see that going across your screen. I apologize. But when you're watching this on YouTube, then there you go. You'll be able to see that on YouTube as it goes across. Support those artists. Support the artists in your local area, no matter what they do. Dance, painting, music, what have you, sculpture, cooking. That's an art form too. Give them your support for it. We've all had, a pretty rough 18 months, and there's a lot of entertainers, a lot of artists that are that really got hit hard these past 18 months. They need your help, and what better way to do it than a word of encouragement. It will go so far you won't even you won't even believe it. Sharing it with your friends. Okay, maybe you can't monetarily donate to somebody, but maybe you have a rich uncle and you go, hey, listen to this podcast. It's really important stuff. And they go, hey, I'm going to give that podcast $1 million. Rock and roll, go at it. Buy their merch if they have merch. Comment on their podcast, comment on their shows. And last but not least, toss them a few bucks if you have a few bucks to toss them. If you don't, I understand. I got you. Not a problem. I'm not going to cry. Not too much. A little bit. Not too much. All right. Well, that's all I have for you tonight, folks. I wanted to share, my journey with podcasting and why I think podcast is an art form and what you can do to help out your favorite podcasts. Challenging you to do that. Let me know how it goes. You reach out to me, Timothy at createartpodcast.com or createartpodcast@gmail.com. Whichever one you like to do, I answer both of those emails. Until next time, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching me here tonight. I want you to, tame that inner critic, create more than you consume, and go create art for somebody you love, yourself. Until next time, have a great night.